Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Leif Taylor again, about to bring your boy Kevin in for a Two Shy Guys session. I know it's been quite a while, so we want to make sure that we get this on and popping. Hold on, let me move some of this stuff out of the way so I can press that invite. There we go. Wait for my man Kev to get online. Hey, what's up, Mo? How you been, bro? Let's see my man Kev here. See if I can add him in. Boom. On and popping as always. What's up, B? How you doing, bro? I saw you eating that vegan food. I was like, my brother's eating vegan food? What? Kevin says it's adding you. Let's see how long it takes to get you in here. There we go.
Leif,
Hey, what's up, bro?
hey, what's up, man? Hey, why did the superhero flush the toilet? Because it was his duty.
Terrible. What's up, Lynn? What's up, Shada? That was terrible.
Hey, everybody.
That
How y'all doing?
was terrible. What's up, baby?
It's your man, J. Kevin Johnson, with my friend.
Leif Taylor.
Two Shy Guys at the mic. Just here one more night, day, evening, morning, whenever you may find us. Here to have a little fun, help you level up and live life laughing and loving. Going down this journey. You coming along this journey with us. How can two agree, or how can two walk together unless they what? Agree. So you guys are coming on to the live stream.
Yeah, my wife's not agreeing
So
with
hopefully,
that joke, though. She's not agreeing with that joke.
who's that?
Says Shauna's not agreeing with that joke.
It's a good joke. I got it right off the website. It said 50 bad jokes for kids.
Yeah, he lived up to his billing. How about that?
I know my youngest son would like it, so okay, everybody.
I can see him liking it too. Here, let me shut the door and get rid of some of this echo.
All right. Hey, thanks for joining us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We definitely appreciate your time and attention. Just here, hopefully, have a little fun today. Just going to talk about, we're going to talk about today about some socially successful habits of successful people. Some socially habits that successful people have, and what kind of got me going on this thread was that a few years back I had I had listened to a book called Captivate by Vanessa Van Edwards.
Okay.
And she's a behavioral expert. And given that I've been plagued with the skill or the trait of being socially awkward in the real world, it's kind of a side habit of mine to like read, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, and how to talk to people and how to interact with people. So I always find it to fit that in somewhere with respect to my reading regimen and my skill development. Because if you don't know how to be socially interactive, you're going to have a hard time living life, right?
Correct.
And this is one of the things that I've learned over the years, given that Two Shy Guys at a mic. So I got to learn how to not be shy when circumstances dictate it and call for it. So I recently re-listened to a little bit of the book Captivate by Vanessa Van Edwards. Like I said, she's a behavioral expert, and her resume is quite long. She's a lot of stuff that she talks about in the book, and with other people, a lot of skills and stuff that she aggregates and talks about in some of the research that she uses. A lot of groups use them, like military, CIA, undercover. A lot of this stuff is used in high-level organizations and businesses and stuff like that that help a lot of people get along and do their job as far as infiltration and just being influencers in networks. So this is one of the things that kind of got me going on this thread. and what we're going to be talking about tonight.
All right.
And Leif's just rolling with me
Yeah,
today.
I'm just rolling with Kevin.
Giving
He asked me the topics. He gave me a completely separate list, and then at the end he was like, "Okay, we're gonna do this. Just roll with me." So I was like, "I'll roll with
you." Yeah, because well, you know, I've been through the gamut as far as some of the things that's been on my mind lately. So what usually happens is we start off with a jumping point, but we end up in you know somewhere else by the end of it, which is good because this is conversation, you know, with conversation. So it's, you know, we try to keep these things loosely oriented so that we can have room for development and we can have room to just go wherever the conversation goes. That's a part of the fun of live stream, is that you can just let things go and be, and wherever you end up, we don't know, as long as we're having fun and laughing and learning too. So with that, I'm going to start off with some habits of socially successful people. And one of the reasons, you know, a couple of reasons, like I said, why this is important is that when you learn how to have successful habits, one of the things I learned is that over time, when I started like doing MLM, started getting into sales and stuff like that, I noticed how important it was for me to be able to make connections and bond and just be able to engage and get along with people and be able to just articulate just my normal thoughts. And one of the things I didn't realize that I know now is that this is a soft skill that is becoming more important as we are transitioned and we move along in this global society, and that we are being pushed into more of a tech and logically based society where most people are being pushed into thinking logically. But I'm noticing that, just looking at my children, having those soft skills as far as making connections, being able to understand people's emotional states, being able to attune to people. And I'm noticing that it's becoming harder for our a lot of younger people to do this.
Yeah.
And it's a skill that when you talk to a lot of CEOs and stuff, they say that a lot of the young people don't know how to interact with other real people.
Yeah, I'm on the advisory board for like the community college here and some of the high schools. And that's one of the issues that a lot of the professors even talk about, is that they don't know how to get the kids, young teenagers, young professionals out of their shell, so to speak. And that's becoming an increasingly bigger issue. It's not necessarily even the technical skills that they're so concerned about. And even on the advisory board, a lot of the people that hire from this particular college, they talk about that as well, that the people that they get don't necessarily communicate well. They don't know how to articulate their thoughts or even how to solve a problem. So these things are becoming more and more prevalent. I was actually on a group last night. We have a monthly group with a bunch of designers from all over the United States. And that was one of the things that was talked about, was hiring even designers that can articulate the process and how they come about solving a problem, to see if they think. A lot of them were complaining about hiring people that really couldn't solve things in an efficient way. They would just meander and so it's becoming a more increasing issue. I'm not even sure if social media is the problem. I don't know what the problem is because I'm not in school with them, so I can't say. So, but that's something that I've heard come up quite some time over the past few years being on these boards.
Okay. Yeah. I would say personally, just from observation, I would say that social media is a big contributor, but there's other things too, like just the whole, I would say social media plays a big part, but there are other things that play a role in that too. You know, again, this is just me kind of just giving a soft or superficial observation and just looking at my children in particular, and that noticing the trend that my oldest has been on from when he was younger to when he hit middle school. It's like, whoa, it's like night and day. And then looking at his friends and then looking at some of the things that he watches, as far as being able to interact socially, I have to be adamant about it. For example, I have to be adamant about making him and making the other ones go into like a restaurant by themselves, or kind of stand off to the side and watch how they interact with an adult.
Yeah.
And have conversation and stuff like that. And I've had like adults look at me at like restaurants and be like, give me the thumbs up off to the side, or be like, this is what we need more of.
Yeah.
And they commend. And it's like, it's a shame that we get commended for doing what we're supposed to do
Yeah.
as parents.
Yeah.
It's like, this is what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, I know I've mentioned this before. We do the same with our kids. We have them actually talk to the people whenever we go somewhere. People are always stunned, you know how like general greetings, like, how are you doing? And my kids will be like, fine, how are you? And they're like they didn't expect a response. They ask a question but didn't expect an answer in return. So yeah, it's weird when you do your job, and yeah.
Yeah. So just looking at some successful, socially inclined people have some of the habits. I'll go down them and then I will go back up through. That way you will have a touch point on each one.
Okay.
Infect with excitement, which means simply more that having the ability to transfer excitement to somebody else is a very good skill to know how to do. Now, me and you, we automatically do this. I don't even know if it's just something that we just do because we've cultivated it. But even without realizing, this is some of the things we automatically do. And I know a lot of you out there do. But we're just going to break down some specific points on actually working on learning how to do this. And infecting with excitement is one of them. That's why sometimes I often start off with the joke, because it's a way of loosening people up, getting people smiling, and you want to affect what it's doing is it's the science of using language, and it's the science of conjuring up the emotion in you, and it's the science of plucking a certain heart chord.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about matters of the heart lately too, so that's why I'm using some of the language. Number 2, avoid dream killers. Avoid being a dream killer. So you want to avoid dream killers, and you want to avoid a dream killer when it comes to social situations, when it comes to just being in groups of people. You do not want to be that person that just like, oh, here they come, just killing dreams softly. Not even softly, just coming through, just smashing dreams.
But I will say this one thing, though. Sometimes those people are necessary. And here's my caveat, right? They're necessary sometimes because not everybody's dream is for the good of other people. So when you think about like certain activists, social activists, and those kinds of things, people hate to see them coming. However, they're necessary because of a lot of different ills that go on in society. You have to have those kind of people around. You have to have people that are willing to just go ham on anything. It's like sometimes you don't want to be. It's like it gets uncomfortable, but if you learn to be comfortable in uncomfortable positions, it's okay. Because I've learned over time, especially being on boards, seeing things that go on policy wise. Those people are a necessity to have because they make people feel uneasy about making decisions that affect other people, and sometimes that's needed.
Well, just real quick, as a sidebar,
when
as you were saying that, you were making me think of there's a concept or a principle of the 10th man, I believe, in that when it comes to, I want to say Jewish thinking, when it comes to Jewish groups, there's a concept of having the 10th man, and that man's sole purpose is to come against everything else the group decides. So if you got a group of 10, which is called a minion, the 10th person, or I think it's the 10th or the 9th person, his sole purpose is to just obliterate and dissect and smash the whole thing. As far as what the group determines,
and also 10th man rule. Yeah, you're correct. This is the 10th man rule.
And another thing, speaking in that same vein, was I was listening to another book called The Unseen Realm, and it was talking about in the book of Job, how when you look up the term for Satan, it's not a name, but it's a title, the Satan, which means it doesn't necessarily mean he was that position is bad. It just means that that position was designed for prosecution. So when you ever read the book of Job in the Bible, he was doing his purpose. He said, I was going to and fro, and then he brought up a case against Job. He said, well, Job, this, that, and the other, and they have a conversation about it. So he wasn't doing a bad thing. He was doing what he was designed to do.
Yep.
As far as whoever the Satan was in the book of Job. That's a whole nother conversation and show. But it just to kind of go on that side trail in that, like, you're right. You do need those dream smashers, even though they do rain on the parade. You need them around to make sure that you got your umbrella. Like, yeah, we got the umbrella. We know it's going to rain, right? Okay, we're ready to go. Now you can go back over there.
Yeah, and also, like, I know I find myself walking that thin line between being a contrarian and a dream snatcher and a dream smasher, because we have a lot of entrepreneurs or would-be entrepreneurs or people that are seeking to advance. They come talk to us. They stop by the office. We have conversations. And I don't necessarily know if I'm a smasher, but I'm definitely an antagonist in terms of their thought patterns, right? A lot of times, people, I'm almost the pity smasher. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, a lot of times people will have self-pity for no reason, and so they'll basically be killing their own dreams at times, and you have to basically come at them in an antagonistic way to get them to see the fault in their thinking in terms of smashing their own dreams.
Yes. Yeah. And we, as you were talking, I listened to two lectures today by Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yep.
Even though I love him and I hate him at the same time. But because he's that kind of guy, that he just gives it to you straight.
No, he smashes some people's dreams, man. I've been in the room where he's done that, and it was just like, oh, man.
But going back to, to be successful when it comes to being socially nuanced and socially aware, you want to make sure that you err on the side of not being the dream killer.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that you always come at it from an angle of kind of support, but up to a limit.
Yeah, because here's the thing that is difficult, especially from a business perspective, right? Maybe not even a business, but just in a life or career choice perspective, is when you know 100% that somebody has a whack dream or a whack way to go about something, you almost want to kill it immediately to get them to see the error in their ways to refine or think of something better in a sense. And again, we talked about it before. It's almost like the rapper syndrome. The guy that's in his 50s still trying to become a rapper. And it's like, bruh, it ain't working. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, on the one hand, you want to be supportive to people. But on the other hand, you don't want, it's a thin line, man. It's a very fine line to walk because, personally, I believe all things are possible. But it's like, come on, bro, you gotta listen to the feedback. If you're doing something to generate an audience and you don't have an audience and you've been doing this for 10 years, you need to move on to something else to switch up your way you're doing it.
That's exactly what Gary Vaynerchuk said in one of the lectures. That's exactly what he said. And because he was talking about the times that we live in and how easy it is to make money with respect to some things like the internet and the times that we live in. You must, if you're an entrepreneur or if you're about just making money and living life, just pursuing the good life anyway, in particular, you must. If you're not doing anything, if you're not making $1, then you might want to rethink some things. And this is where he talks about being practical and patient.
Yeah, you have. Man, it's such a weird conundrum to be in because sometimes big dreams don't show any fruit. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of a fine line to walk because some dreams, like for example, we talked about writing when we talked about goal setting, right? Was it Sunday or whatever? Yeah. We talked about that, and writing, like in terms of blogs and things like that, they usually don't produce fruit for like 3 years. That's like the average. So it's like time is always the teller of the truth in a sense, and a lot of times we don't know what that time frame is going to be. So it's weird, man. It's especially like even going back to the rapper scenario, right? The one dude may be whack. You may think he's whack forever and then catch on one good time and the rest is history. So it's like,
it blows up.
Yeah. So man, it's like, don't quit your side hustle in the meantime, so to speak, because but some people, like Andrea said, people are sold and they won't listen to a thing. So you gotta be careful. Like even when I'm like just basically stomping somebody's idea, I always say I don't know everything, so I'll pass, but it might be a possibility that this could work. And also I'm kind of jaded in a sense from the standpoint whenever you try to raise money for a company, people will crap on your idea on a consistent basis because you're actually asking them you're asking complete strangers to fork over large amounts of cash for your idea. So if they don't catch hold to it immediately, then a lot of times it's an immediate pass. But even with that, sometimes they pass on ideas that are big without even realizing it because it's a fine line, man. It's a fine line, like your meter, figuring that out, because I know even great investors, one of the guys that invested in our company, he passed on Facebook.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? I mean, he still was very, very successful. Hey, what's going on, Takia? However, it's not like you see everything, right? So it's always a fine line. That's why it's good to have other people in your corner. But again, you got to listen to feedback, though. When you have a dream, and listen to feedback from the right people. We're talking about dream killers and those kinds of things. Don't take advice from somebody that's not doing anything. If somebody's not doing anything, then chances are any advice they give you to the contrary is going to be a dream killer.
But they're the loudest ones in the room.
Exactly. But it's like always like you have to vet your ideas, though, especially because most ideas involve other people. There's very few ideas on this earth that don't involve other people buying into it. So you have to vet your idea against somebody that can give you honest feedback, because a lot of times people, we talk about honesty and being honest and all these kinds of things. A lot of times people around you, they'll be too nice. So you do need your Vaynerchuks that'll just basically machine gun your idea down in a heartbeat, just to let you see some reality. Because again, if you can't deal with that kind of pressure coming at you, then chances are you won't succeed anyway. So sometimes those things are good, but going back to your original point, you don't want to hang around people that are dream killers, because chances are they're not doing anything anyway.
Gotcha. Number 4, learn the skill of decoding hidden emotions. This is good when it comes to social situations, and it's something you have to learn how to watch people and look for. There's something called we all have what's called micro expressions, and these are expressions that run across our face for like less than flashes of a millisecond, but our subconscious can catch them, and you can catch them too if you learn how to attune yourself. And if you learn how to attune yourself to it and make yourself more aware and be watchful of people's body language.
Yep.
This will help you tremendously when it comes to social cues, knowing how what you're saying is affecting people, knowing if you're this is something I had to learn, I had to learn about, watching people, learn about what I say, how it affects people, and this, that, and the other, to make me more less socially awkward.
Yeah, and one thing I found is women are very good at this. Women pick up on this very, very well. I know my wife; she's very keen on people's expressions, the way they train. She's like, "Did you notice such and such?" And one of the things that myself and Lamar do, we always, when we go like do sales or do any events, we always go 2 at a time, right? We both go through, we both have done sales separately. We've both gone to speak separately. However, when we go together, it's like I usually stay in the cut because I'm the shy guy. That's my default anyway, but I like to pay attention. So we'll always have a brief on what the nuances we both noticed within the conversation. We'll confer up, we'll talk about it. And because again, sometimes it's good to have 2 eyes in a room, depending on the situation, to make sure that you're reading it correctly. Because sometimes if you're the one doing something, it's hard to read other people's reactions to what you're doing or presenting. If you ever notice me in a room and somebody's talking, I'm usually very, very quiet and just observing. I like to observe the room. I like to scan the room. I like to see when people wince, or when they smile, or when they get excited, when their voices change, and their body posture changes. It's all kinds of nuances that you have to pick up on. And for me, I've been an artist for years. I used to draw people. So I used to pick on certain
already.
Yeah, so I'm just used to studying people, and I was an exercise science athlete in physiology, so I understand body mechanics, body movements. So I really hone in on those kinds of things when I'm in certain situations. And so sometimes you'll see me with the flat affect where I'm not like, I'm just and not doing nothing, right? But a lot of time, like pretty much every time, I'm observing everything that's going on as much as I can.
Yeah, and like you said, women have a natural tend to have a natural intuition about that anyway, which is why it's good to have. Which is why it's good to have a lot of women in power positions. It's good to have an organization with a lot of women in power positions. Because number one, they're already socially more ahead of the game in a lot of ways, and there's just something. For example, Jack Ma said that about females in particular when it comes to his business, social situations and stuff like that. And having women, one of the things they came at him about is why you got so many women in your organization? And it's like, because they know how to run groups. He's like, this is what they do. They're very good at this. So that's a good sidebar. But just going, number 4 is just learning how to decode hidden emotions. And this can even affect how you even put together, believe it or not, a profile like on Facebook or like on LinkedIn or like on Instagram. When you learn how to decode emotions, when you learn about micro expressions, when you learn about camera angles, when you learn about all this stuff, this is stuff that you can use to your advantage, even when it comes to you just putting together your Facebook timeline so that it can catch the eye of and make a connection to or attract high-level influential people. So this is a skill that helps you in a lot of different ways. Just for example, there's a reason why I put the angle of my camera this way, because it puts the viewer in a dominant position, and it forces the viewer, when they look down on you, it puts them in a manner of listening.
Gotcha.
The scripture that says incline, like lean down and listen. Versus when the camera angles upwards, the viewer it's in a position of dominance. Right. It's in a position of dominance, which means domination.
Yeah.
Oh no. This angle means submission. This angle means dominance.
Yep.
So it's just things like that when you learn you learn how to be in social situations. You learn how to use things to captivate and have influence, not manipulation, but influence, right?
Yeah, I got a confession, Kevin. I got a confession. Sometimes I know when I'm in places, I'll stay quiet because I know it makes people feel socially awkward, and I don't care. Yeah. So I'm just like,
well, again, it's good if you're in a meeting, if you're in a boardroom, and you want to take control of the situation in a boardroom or in a meeting. You want to establish dominance without saying I'm the dominant one or I'm the alpha, right? This is how you do it. You use silence as a weapon, or not a weapon, but you use silence as a tool or a piece of equipment to help you gain social status and social dominance in a situation, say a negotiation room or a presentation. These are soft skills that we're breaking down brick by brick. So when you really learn to look at the brick, if I use this here, now I know how to go into a meeting with my boss and establish dominance with my boss without him or her even realizing it. Like, I don't know what it is about so-and-so, but man, I don't know what it is. And you just sit there and you just smack them around in a non-verbal way, right?
Yeah, one of the good things that I would advise anybody, and it was funny, like when I was in college, I thought psychology was the dumbest field on earth. I used to tell people this all the time. I hated psychology. I hated all the principles and things about it. However, as time went on, the more I studied these things, especially marketing, right? And, I got really fascinated with marketing. The more you study marketing, the more you realize that not all psychology is like edge thought. There's some very practical things within it. And when you start understanding these things, like the reason why people do things, the habit book that Kevin mentioned, the social psychology of fitting in, there's a whole lot of nuances that people do every day. We pick up on it, but we don't necessarily understand the science behind it. It's definitely very fascinating. There's some excellent books out there that you can read, and it'll make you dive deeper into it. Sociology, which is Kevin's background, just studying how people move as a whole, the motivations behind people's activities, even the motivations behind social media. There's all kinds of interesting things that you can understand about people's psychology. And so I would advise you to read up on those things. It'll help you change some of your own behaviors. If you find that you're Kevin's talking about being socially awkward and soft skills, it'll help you understand why people react to you in a certain way. If you're reflective when you read this stuff, introspective, so to speak. So I advise anybody to start picking up on this stuff, study the history of marketing and psychology and how it's infused into marketing and how it changed the landscape of marketing as a whole. It is definitely very, very interesting stuff. You won't be disappointed.
Yeah, this is stuff that was a basic part of a true liberal art education, but it was taken out for specific reasons. I forgot who I was listening to, but they were talking about there's a reason why there's only one school in the UK or somewhere where the stuff we're talking about now is taught.
Yeah.
The stuff we're talking about now is only taught in top private schools where the Obamas and where the politicians and stuff send their kids.
Yeah, I got you.
This is not ordinary education we're getting. That's why it's often pushed to the side or mitigated when you get to like higher level education. It's like nobody cares about psychology. That stuff don't work with sociology.
Yeah.
And then you get out in the real world, and you're like, it's all about this stuff. How come nobody told me? How come? Why is it that the board, the circle of marketers and stuff are making six figures, $1 million? Why is it they all have backgrounds in psychology
Yeah.
and sociology and stuff like this? I thought you said it wasn't no good. Like it ain't. Not for you,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
for
yeah.
us, it's good. You
Yeah,
know.
it's very, very, very interesting. Psychology plays a role in just about anything where there's quote unquote competition, right? Martial arts is full
Yes.
of it. You learn about it. Boxing, any type of fisticuff type thing. You understand that the mental game is just as much as anything else. If you read even athletes, they talk about it. It's the psychology behind the game. It's the psychology. That's why, when you see people taunting, it's not just because of braggadocio and all of that kind of stuff. It's a psychological game. And people that don't understand it, they just don't understand it. So to them, it's
It
like
works.
bragging, it's all of this kind of stuff. But those things have a psychological effect on the outcome of your opponent if they're unaware of what's being done.
And that when you were talking, it kind of reminded me of the fight that just went between McGregor and
You talking about Floyd? You talking about last year?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Even though we know that most of that was staged,
Oh,
it's
I was gonna
still
say yeah, but still, yeah.
the psychological
It's
still
all it
get
was.
drawn in.
It's all it was. It was.
Even I was
all-
watching it, and I know it's entertainment, but I'm still getting like, man, hey,
Yep.
and it's just it's pro WWE wrestling. We all know that, but you still cannot help it.
Yeah.
My sons, they WWE, they still can't help it, throwing the popcorn at the TV. Oh, he's about to smash them, and dude's like, I'm about to bring the house on you. It works.
Yeah, it's like the over the top antics and all of that kind of stuff. That's crowd psychology, right? It gets people.
Crowd psychology.
Yeah, it's funny, man. It's like because speaking of sports, the more I started reading, these are Go Scrappy Cats. Yeah, they just won. But yeah, it's the same thing, right? I remember I used to be like an avid sports fan and all of those kinds of things. But the more and more I read psychology, the more and more I got into entrepreneurship, the less those things affected me. I still enjoy it. And there's still a loyalty. Even when you think about fan loyalty and how that stuff is built in, it's crazy to see like the nuances of how they make you root for a specific team just because you were born in a certain location. It's really silly when you like devoid yourself of it. But when you're in it, it's like the world to you, right? It's like everything, and that's part of the psychology of it. You breed it into the DNA of the city or wherever you're from, the state, and people buy into it. It's just like nationalism, right? That the propaganda behind nationalism and how people buy into those kinds of things. Anyway, we're talking about socialism. Never mind. Just scrap that conversation. We'll move into this another time. Yeah, but still, going back to the psychology part, this is part of the sociological things that you should study. It's really valuable, especially when we're talking about finances. Finances is pure psychology. The way you manage your finances, the way you spend your money, the way you waste your money, all of that is psychological because it's you that's determining certain things. It's crazy how it affects you, and you may not even understand how that comes about.
No, I was going to tell you to keep going because this is stuff that you were pointing out examples that we see on TV or on a national basis, but this is stuff you can use in your own personal life. To where you could turn into the office maverick, you could turn into the office influencer. You don't have, you're just a janitor, but you wield the wield of the office maverick. We're talking about successful social skills that no matter where you are on a totem pole, or no matter what your title or definition is, you take these skills, you cultivate it, you learn it, and you use it to maneuver in whatever avenue that you deem necessary wherever you may find yourself. So you were pointing to examples that we all know and are familiar with, but we're talking about concepts and tactics and strategies and principles that when you take these, they work for them and they can work for you no matter where you find yourself, whether you're the janitor or the CEO. We all have to use these same skills to advance in society, and not even in a business manner, but just even in life in general, whether it be siblings and whether it be spouse, whether it be whatever. These are things that you can employ in your life to help you become more socially lubricant.
that's an interesting term.
You like how I
real quick. Yeah, it was crazy. Real quick, one thing, Hillary Thompson said, oh yeah, all supply demand, what people need and what skills work, aka Lamar. Yeah, exactly, Hillary. It's those kinds of things. See, what was I just thinking about? I was thinking about something in particular. Just how everything truly, when you break it down, everything in life is almost a sales game. And it's a sale on confidence, it's a sale on attractiveness, it's a sale on success, it's a sale on whatever it is you're trying to do in life. Because again, anything that involves other people, you have to convince them of a specific whatever. If you want somebody to follow you, then you have to convince them that this is, we're talking about, like, we're two shy guys in the mic. We're two shy guys talking about things that we learned. But guess what? We still have to convince you to trust what we're saying is true, right? And that comes with consistency. And again, that's socially embedded. That, the more consistent somebody is, then the more trustworthy they are, which is true oftentimes, because out of the abundance of the heart doth the mouth speak. But it's all kinds of things in this world that it's a convincing type thing, right? I advise anybody that has Netflix, watch Dirty Money. It's a very good series, and it's a good series to see why people fall into some of these traps from these corporations because of the marketing schemes, the scams that they have. And also Catch Me If You Can. If you've never watched Catch Me If You Can with Leonardo DiCaprio, you should watch that movie. And if you're watching it for entertainment only, watch it again. Understand what this guy was doing. One of the
he was hacking.
Yeah, one of the recurring themes that he had in the movie was, the New York Yankees. And he was like, it's a great movie. And basically his father would always tell him that the reason why they won was because people were so focused on the stripes. And what that meant was they were intimidated by the history. Yeah, of course it's part fiction. Anything that's on television is manufactured, documentaries included, especially reality TV. That's the answer to talk about what Justin said. But the truth in that statement is the fact that people get intimidated because of past history or because of institution, right? This is going back to being intimidated by the Yankees and the stripes. Example, Mike Tyson. Yeah, that's the pilot scene, Justin. Look, Justin knows. He knows what's up. Mike Tyson, for example. When Mike Tyson was fighting, this dates me a little bit. I didn't like Mike Tyson. I didn't like Mike Tyson because I saw flaws in his game, right? Angelo Dundee, I'm going to get into some fight nerd stuff. Angelo Dundee, the trainer for Muhammad Ali, he always said that Mike Tyson had a weakness for somebody with a strong jab. The problem was most of the people that fought Mike Tyson were afraid of Mike Tyson. They were more afraid of his persona than they were the actual fighter. And the first person that wasn't intimidated was actually Buster Douglas. If you watch that fight, the first time when Mike Tyson got beat, and basically Buster Douglas, people don't realize, he followed the formula that Angelo Dundee said. He said a tall person with a strong jab would beat Mike Tyson every time. And that's what happened. Buster Douglas had an extremely strong jab. And the reason why Buster Douglas won and he wasn't intimidated was because he was coming off the loss of his mother. It was either his mother or his trainer. His mother had died, so he had a nothing to lose mindset. And a lot of times when people have a nothing to lose mindset, the antics of psychological intimidation don't don't factor in
No.
because you don't care anyway. So the antics, the pre-fight bullying, and those kind of things. Yeah, exactly. Lennox Wood avoided him as well because he was kind of, everybody was fearful of Mike Tyson except for Buster Douglas and Evander Holyfield. The only two people that weren't really truthfully intimidated by him. And when you watch that stuff and you understand those things, it's like, you know what? It's not as bad as it seems. You know, he's a man like everybody else. I can stand in here and all of that kind of stuff because most of the people that Mike Tyson knocked out were actually backing away. And that's a no-no whenever you're fighting. You never back away from somebody. They're backing away because they're intimidated. So they back straight up with their chin up in the air. Hook come to the jaw, you're going down every time. So anyway, I said all of that to say, going back to the New York Yankees and the Pinstripes, be careful of institutions. Be very careful of institutions because think about it. We put a lot of our trust, the United States and people. He said WWE boxing. We put a lot of trust in these institutions, and they're the very ones that are ripping us off. The government, the banks, a lot of these big institutions, because people trust in the pillars, they trust in the suit, they trust in the stripes, they trust in the things that really don't mean anything, but perceptually, we've given it value within our society, and that's what you have to watch out for when people con you, because they know what to present that people fall for. So be very, very careful whenever you're following information. Read up on the history. History is very valuable in terms of, like I said, out of the abundance of the heart doth the mouth speak. And if somebody is consistent over a long period of time, then they can win your trust. But be very careful about some of these institutions. When you read up on them, you see all these scams that they've run on people. You see all how the CEOs get off from swindling billions, not millions, but billions of dollars from taxpayers, politicians. They have a history of all of these things, but yet people trust in the suit, they trust in the shaved face, they trust in the clean haircut and the smooth speech, and they vote these people in, and their history says otherwise. So you got to be very, very careful.
Well, this is right on key when it talks about being socially successful. You could be socially successful in a good way or the bad way. Yep. But when you learn how to use these different blocks and build an institution so that people get distracted with the perception of whatever you build, that leaves you room to operate in the blind spots. So this is exactly what you're talking about when you talk about institutions and to be socially successful amongst a mass group in a group setting. They learn and they know very well the art of what it takes to captivate so that their agenda can be progressed, or their agenda can be moved forward. So again, you can take these same skills and use them in your life. Like you said, Two Shy Guys on the Mic, we're using some of these basic to be used. We are meant to be social creatures, and you need good people to be at the nodes or be at the corners or be at the intersections when it comes to social interaction. If you don't, you end up where we're at now, like you talked about with institutions. You get the wrong people standing there at the intersection talking about, hey, smiling in your face, but as soon as you turn around, they're going to stab you in the back.
Yeah, and this is when you were saying that, it made me think about parents and children, right? Just how you were talking about with your son and those kinds of things. And that's what you see a lot of times in some of these scenarios where there aren't people. Bernie Madoff was a good one, but he didn't swindle more people than the Fed. I'm going to just throw that out there. Anyway, especially going back to children, they're not like the family construct. The family unit is where they learn how to deal with people in a social scenario, right? And when the home is unstable in terms of there's no interaction with the parent and the child, there's no teaching, there's no kinds of anything, then you have this social I'm trying to think of a good word to say, misfit in a sense, deviancy in terms of like criminal activity and those kinds of things, because mischief is in the heart of a child, right? And which is, it's a natural thing, and the family construct is to help cultivate that to where it's like, okay, it's not nice to hit, right? Hitting somebody is a social interaction. It's not nice to spit on somebody. It's not, yeah, there's a disconnect. Thank you, Takia. So we have to make sure that, and this is the reason why I take my kid, it's such a valuable relationship for me, because I know some of the things that were missing when I was younger. And my wife and I try to instill that into our children when they interact with other people. I've talked about it plenty of times, like, some of their friends have different things going on in their homes, right? And of course, and we tell our children that, okay, well, this is the reason why they may act this way. So sometimes you have to be patient with somebody, right? Or if somebody, is not acting accordingly, then you shouldn't really hang around that person, right? It's like, you don't want to be around that, because you're going to have a lot of trouble. You're going to have a lot of unintended consequences. You're going to have a lot of drama that you don't want, so again, when those things are missing in the home, then we see it taking place. We see the outcomes in our school. Yeah, we see the effects in our schools in terms of teacher interaction. People, some of the kids don't have respect for adults. There's none of that being taught, or none of that being modeled. Modeling is more important than the teaching aspect of it, because people pick up, like you said, those micro expressions. Children pick up on all of that stuff. Children, they're very, especially I've noticed the more independent children, the children that aren't raised in certain things, they pick up on those kinds of things more so than the child that is, right? Because there's a lot of times that, there's lashing out. Like, so for example, an undisciplined household where somebody just randomly smacks their kid, that kid is going to be very attentive to how their parent acts, or when they know they're pushing a trigger point, because they know what things trigger the smack to the head and all of that kind of stuff, right? So again, it's very important for us as parents, for anybody that's raising a child or a young adult or somebody, to model the behavior that you expect to see. You can't tell the behavior, you have to model it.
Yeah. Hey, I am up against a hard stop. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the last one in.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Number 5, stop people pleasing. So don't worry, when it comes to social interaction, don't worry about being the yes person or being a people pleaser. Know how to set boundaries with people. Know how to just say no, and eliminate toxic people. We talked about all of these in the past lots of times. But socially successful people know how to do this, because it helps keep you authentic. It helps keep you consistent, because you're not overcommitting yourself. It helps keep you happy and laughing, because you're eliminating or keeping to a minimum toxic people in your life. So that's number 5. It's just be you, and that way you'll attract who you're supposed to attract with, and then you'll repel who you're not meant to be in a social situation with anyway.
Yeah, and again, that's one of the things that I always model, is I'm gonna genuinely be me all the time. It's just who I am. It's like, again, I can attribute that to age. It's like, man, if you like me or you don't, I'm good either way. It's just the way it is, and that's not to say that you should be a jerk, just to be a jerk for jerk's sake. But again, don't try to pretend to be something. And I'm not saying that you don't strive to be a better person. I'm not saying that at all. However, there's a natural, there's a ZPG, so to speak, where your base level is of truly who you are, and you should genuinely be that, because I'd rather know that you hate Black people than for you to pretend like you don't and you hate me all the time. I'd rather know the truth up front. So be you. Yeah, if you a tiki torture, be a tiki torture, so I know up front, and I don't have to try to kick it with you on the slide or whatever. I can keep it moving, and you can keep it moving too, and we can go about our way separately. So that's my thing, man. Just be who you are. let people attract who you are, man.
So I'm gonna do a rehash. I'm gonna do go over all the ones we talked about today. This is talking about how to get your social life under control and using skills that successfully social people use in their life on a daily basis in every area of their life. It's first and foremost, infect excitement with people you care about. Avoid dream killers. Don't be a dream killer, and add to all of your interactions. Learn how to decode hidden emotions in people that you meet, and then also stop being a people pleaser. Don't worry about it. Just be you, and whoever you connect with and are drawn to, and it's drawn to you, just let it be. Yep. So that's all I have for today. Just wanted to come on and kind of conversate, have a show helping you level up, talking about Captivate. Anything you want to add to that, Leif, before I sign off?
Yeah, Kevin has a hard stop. I can stay on for one more person to come in. However, as Kevin said, these are some very key things that you should focus on for yourself. Help yourself. Again, we're talking about leveling up in life. Understanding social cues and social psychology can only help make you better. And it's not to be in a manipulative sense. It's to actually improve who you are, improve your quality of life, improve how you interact with the people around you. I'll do all of this with the basis of love, and you can't fail or go wrong.
And for Blism, I'm looking at Blism Thomas's. He said, "What books did you mention?" The one that I specifically mentioned was Captivate by Vanessa Van Edwards.
Okay. Thanks, Taki. We appreciate that. Yeah, Kevin's about to sign out. If we said anything, go ahead. You can log out, Kevin. I'll do your wrap up for you. Appreciate you, bro. If we said anything that you liked or that's been helpful, please like or share. We're definitely doing this just to help. And again, the end goal for me, for Kevin, and for everything we do is to bring about collaboration amongst people. We love people. We love our communities, and we're just trying to help everybody grow stronger. And even the things that we say is to help us as well. So don't think we're coming from a preachy standpoint. These are things that we've learned ourselves and are trying to practice over time. I got a few more minutes before I get off of here because I got to knock out some work. Got some things to knock out and get accomplished by tomorrow. If anybody has any comment that they would like to join the show for right now, I'll give you a few minutes. If nobody tries to join in, then I'll call it a night. So if anybody's interested, you can click the little green button on your phone. If you turn your phone landscape or sideways, you can press the green button to be added in. I'll add you in and let you give some comments. Thanks, Raymond. I appreciate that. Like I said, Taki, I appreciate your comment as well. I'm trying to go back through these and look for somebody I may have missed. I know my man Kamal said something. Yeah, he said being a younger guy in his workplace, he noticed that miscommunication is one of the biggest things that he faces with the older generation. And again, there's a lot of times a gap in communicating, and communication skills. Cultural references are a big gap. I noticed we have like a bunch of young guys that typically work with us being developers, and some of the cultural commentary Lamar and I would give, but they would be like, they had no clue what we were talking about. So I definitely understand where you're coming from, Kamal. Let's see. Yeah, if nobody else has any questions or comments, I don't see anything coming through. We'll call it a night. Again, we appreciate everybody. Appreciate you for stopping by. Appreciate you listening to us talk. We love you. Peace and blessings. Until next time, signing off.